Hey guys, it's Fana, and thank you so much for watching. Here we have a Christmas present from December. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's generally when Christmas is. But this footage has been sitting around, and then I lost the footage for a couple months. And then after getting 2 or 3 of my tech friends to help me, they were useless, and then I discovered the footage hidden in a folder where this footage had absolutely no business of being. But anyway, I found it finally, like 3 months later. But this was a Christmas present for Not the Most Talented, or Notty. I'll link her information down in the description below. And she requested that I do my OC Raphael and her character. Oh god, she sent me the audio file of how to pronounce his name and I completely forgot. Jirou. Okay, yeah, we're gonna call him Jirou. I'm sorry, Notty, I know you told me Jirou. But Jirou is actually a character that is a species that I designed for This Light Must Go Out, and that's the story that Raphael is from as well. And I had a create your own contest on DeviantArt 2-3 years ago, so Notty created Jirou for that contest. She requested that they be in a hot springs. And I was like, okay, like, full composition, here we go. I just want to point out right now, I am trying to incorporate Raphael's, like, scars, his burn scars, because generally I forget to draw those in, because I'm a wonderful mother who will design her children and then completely forget, like, important design elements of them. But, anyway, I thought that this would be very challenging. As I talked about in my previous video, I'm not very good at full compositions, or at least I'm not comfortable with full, like, backgrounds and multiple characters, and I'm really pushing myself to get out of that comfort zone. Just looking at the characters a little bit, I definitely wanted them... I wanted to show their bodies, and I wanted to show their figures, especially with Raphael, because he does have this design element that I never show, because he's always wearing clothes. So I thought it'd be very interesting to have his scars being shown. And then Jirou, he has his ears and his tail, and I thought that like little hugging himself kind of back pose would be very cool to do. And then Raphael's really long hair is like in a half bun while the rest of it is trailing into the water. And I struggled somewhat with figuring out how to have the tail and the hair be under the water but still showing through the water. I had probably 4 or 5 different reference photos of a hot springs in front of me as I was doing this. It was difficult, but I had like little design elements that I wanted to do. Like, I wanted Jirou to be more up front because this is Notty's OC, and since this was her present, I didn't want my character to be the focus. So I wanted Jirou to be up front in his like little seductive pose, and then I wanted Raphael to be behind, kind of sitting on some steps. And then I had to do the steps, and then I wanted like a waterfall, and I noticed that in a lot of the reference photos they were like low fences, and I wanted greenery, and for not doing backgrounds a lot, I feel like I went pretty hardcore, went all out with this illustration, probably more so than I should have, but, you know, go big or go home. This was a lot of fun to do. I don't do watercolors as much as I would like. I find that it requires a lot of space and time and energy for me to whip out my well, that's the thing. I can't just whip out my watercolors based on what I have currently as my workstation. Being at school means that I can only really work at my desk, and I need my desk for generally, I have to use it for schoolwork. And it's hard to have a whole camera set up and to have lights and all these paints, and generally my laptop's out for references and just watching videos as I do it. And especially with something like this where it's taped down, because I like the crisp edges and I also don't want it to buckle on me, because I find that I use a lot of layers when I do watercolor, so I have a lot of water on the paper, so it buckles very easily. Maybe I need to invest in higher quality paper. Again, as a student, I don't have time or money or energy for that, so that will have to wait. But this video was recorded back when I was at my permanent residence. I have a bigger space that I'm able to leave things out and about so I can work on them. I believe this was I'm trying to think if this was a one sit down thing. It definitely was a couple, I had a hard time with the sketches because I had to figure out the proper posing and structure of the piece. And then there was drawing it onto the paper, and then there was the actual painting process itself. So I honestly am not sure how long this piece took. I know it took a long time in the brainstorming phase. I have several different pages in my sketchbook from different time periods of the same composition sketched out a couple times. If I had thought to include it, I would have, but I do not think that far ahead, because I am great like that. But yeah, I do want to do let's say do one more time. I want to attempt more watercolor illustrations such as this, because I just love the softness of watercolors and the feel of the watercolors, and to have a full composition like this is a lot of fun. I definitely think I want to do larger pieces at some time, because right now this is a 9x12, I believe, and to do a 16x20 would be, oh my gosh, in my mind I'm that's too much for you, but in my heart I'm saying you can do this, believe in yourself. Which really is any kind of artwork. You just do it. Do it. Just sit down, do something. If it doesn't work out, okay, didn't work out. Better luck next time. And that mentality can help you a lot as an artist. Of a lot of the art making process, the stuff that you guys see is maybe 5% of everything that I create. There are things about this piece that I wish I could have done better. I probably should have done the background before I did the figures. Or the water on the, I don't know if you can tell, there's a waterfall in the background, but I couldn't make it to the best of my abilities because I didn't really know what I was doing. And that's the whole point of creating something. You guys see only, 5% of what I create. There's so much more that I do that I don't think is good enough quality to show you guys, but you might love. And it's all perspective like that. Going back to the piece, I'm adding in a lot of details with just darker colors, adding leaves and textures to the background. I put moss on the rocks because with the waterfall it's a very wet area. And I think that outlining with watercolors makes it less harsh. It gives it a lot more of a soft feel. As you guys may have noticed with a lot of my traditional videos lately, I have not been erasing my sketch. I've just been having my sketch in the blue lead that I use, and then I've been either painting or coloring over it and then doing the line work. And even though you can still see the blue sketch underneath, I just me personally, I really like the feel of that. I I use very, very thin liners nowadays. I can't remember the last time that I used my nice Copic multi-liners because I found like these micro Pentel something or other, tiny, tiny fine point pens that I really enjoy using because it also gives it a kind of scratchy, sketchy feeling. I've noticed that I've enjoyed that a lot more, even if my digital art, I've been using a more pencil sketch, I almost said sketchy kind of lining style, which I find I just enjoy more. I used to very much pride myself with having these like very detailed, very crisp, like no problems lines. And I've discovered that it causes like a lot of stress to try to make these perfect lines. And when I just try, not it's definitely a quicker process, but when I care a little bit less about the line work, I find that it looks so much more natural. And here, like with here, I'm using a very thin brush to paint watercolors as the outline instead of going in with even those fine liners. You learn, you improve, like with these kind of experimental processes, you find what you do like and you find what you don't like. You find what works for you and what doesn't work for you. You find that like, okay, I like this, but how can I improve it and to make it mine? Art is purely an experimental process. I will do something digitally, like I'll make fire for Griffin digitally and it will look great and I will love it. And then I'll sit down the very next day and stare at that piece and be like, how the heck did I make that fire? How, like, for me, a lot of times all the effects that I do are, it's just me messing around a lot, more so than I care to admit. And I don't know what I'm doing. I couldn't tell, like, people are like, oh, how'd you do this? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, but if you're able to replicate it, let me know so that I can do it again. Just, ugh. My gosh, it's a process. It's definitely a process. Just looking at this video, I'm trying to figure out like what else that I do with, because I do also have the nasty habit of I'll finish recording because I'm done the illustration, and you guys can't see my air quotes right now, but I'm sure they're implied. I will like work on the piece after I've finished recording, and I'm like, Fana, no, the point of recording this is so that people can see your process, and it doesn't happen. But I ended up putting white ink and a white gel pen, as well as I did end up using the like really tiny liners a little bit. But I think after a couple little more details, this painting is done. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe. I hope you have a phenomenal day and keep being extraordinary. Bye!